Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday morning. It is time for Morning Manna. Thankful and grateful that you are here. We want to give Facebook Live a couple of minutes. Well, I should say a few seconds to get the audience together. And then we're going to begin right into Morning Manna. So good morning to you. How's it going? This morning is Hump Day. It's the midday of the week. And how's everything going for you right now in this whole shelter in place? So here's how we do Morning Manna. It's always the text, the talk, and the takeaway. And this week we're dealing with this whole series about how in the world, Bishop, am I going to make it? How am I going to make it in this shelter in place? I'm quarantined with my family. It's been about 20 days plus now or better. And how am I going to do this? So we're always going to give you the text. I'm going to give you a talk, and we're going to give you a takeaway. How are you going to make it? And this is what I need you to do. What I need you to do is give the hearts and the likes. The hearts and the likes, that's the Facebook Live version of amens. You need to give the comments as well, because your comments help others to see the revelation that you got. You got to share it. You got to share it. You can begin sharing it right now. You can do a watch party as well as, follow and put it in the notifications. That's what you need to do. You got to share it. Got to do the whole watch party. You got to do some notifications and following so we can all get this revelation together. So it's time for Morning Manna, the text, the talk, and the takeaway. Here's the text. And it is Genesis 7:1. Genesis 7:1. The Lord told Noah, take your whole family with you into the boat because you are the only ones on earth that pleases me. God told Noah and his whole family. Now, you need to grab a hold of this revelation. Noah's family was the first shut-in, shelter-in-place, quarantine family. And guess what? For 40 days and 40 nights. 40 days and 40 nights were they shelter in place during an inclement period of time. It was kind of bad outside. So at any rate, here it is. This is the first shelter in place family in Scripture. So how did they make it? I believe that we know because of how they lived prior to and how they lived afterwards, that we can look at their lives and grab 5 things. Here's the talk. 5 things that I believe that without question, they made it through their shelter in place experience. One is intentionality. Intentionality. I believe that Noah's family were very intentional about what, about what they did and how they did it. How do I know that? Because he told them, notice this, they were very intentional, 2 types of animals of all kinds, all right? Now, if they were that intentional to follow God's instructions, you have to know that they made that same application in their family life. So I think in order for you to get through what you're going through right now, being shelter in place, or if you're not shelter in place, or if you don't have a family, you still have to be intentional. Nothing will ever get done if you're not intentional. It's the second thing, intimacy. Now, if this is not a time of intimacy, of closeness, then what is? This is a time in which you draw closer, and they had to draw closer in that particular time. How do I know that they were drawing closer? Because they were close to God before it ever started. You can't be close to God. You cannot have a vertical relationship without having a horizontal relationship. You can't tell me that you have this outstanding vertical relationship. You are so tight with God, but then you cannot be close to others. Doesn't work that way. He says, now how can you say that you love me, whom you've never seen, but yet hate your brother? The scripture says, John turns around and says, you're a murderer if you kind of speak that kind of language. So in other words, you can be intimate with others at this moment. It is really pulling the God out of you. Here's the third thing. Here is the third thing, right, is empowerment. Empowerment. I believe that they were empowered. How do I know that they were empowered? Because God empowered them before they ever went. Look at what God did. Before there was rain, before anybody even knew what a boat was. Now remember now, before Noah built the boat, the earth was given water from the ground up in the atmosphere. There was no such thing as rain then. So here's a guy talking about, okay, it's going to rain, but yet God empowered. Here's the key. God empowered him to build an ark. I believe that same spirit of empowerment caused them to be able to work things out while they were sheltering in place for 40 days and 40 nights. Here's the fourth thing, grace. Grace. Notice this. God says, you're the only ones that I can give grace to, because you're the only ones that are living right. I'm going to give unmerited favor. I'm going to give you my love because you are living according to my word. Now, how does that apply in a shelter in place? Again, if God gives you grace, then we are to pass that grace along to others. Here's the fifth and final things. Life lessons. 5 things now. Grace, intentionality, intimacy, empowerment, and life lessons. You have to learn from your experiences before. And I believe without a doubt that in this moment, pull on all of the life lessons that you've had prior to now. What has life taught you? How to get along? You know what? What are the things that you have learned? I'll say this and then I'll give you the takeaway. It's one of the things that I learned about being in the military. After we would finish an exercise, after the exercise was over and we had what we would call the hot wash, immediately after then you'd go over everything that you learned. And then you would write up your after action report. You always had a paragraph in there about lessons learned. Lessons learned. You have learned some things prior to this moment that's going to help you through this moment. You have learned some things about God. You've learned some things about family that's going to help you through this moment. I remember well that when I was stationed in a secret place and apart from First Lady, and my son was ill at the time, and he had major surgery, and his life was on the line, and he almost passed away because of the hernia situation that he had when he was a little fellow. And I learned that I really needed to be there for my family. I wasn't able to be there because I was in a different place. Well, guess what? When 9/11 came around, I was still apart from my family. But this time, I learned the life lesson. They needed to be with me during times of life and death. So it is right now. Take the lessons that you've learned prior to now and then apply them to the situation you find yourself in. These 5 things will help you get through shelter in place. If Noah, here's your takeaway, if Noah and his family can do it for 40 days and 40 nights in a boat with animals, that's a wild situation. If they can do it, you can do it too. The Lord be with you. May his face shine upon you. Give you peace. Share the manna. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow morning with more Morning Manna. Bye now.